Hello and welcome. All of us, as we run companies or enterprises, want to attract customers better, want to reach out to new customers, and sometimes we take the help of management consultants. But sometimes you need different kind of management consultants who come from a different background with different tools, not the Excel sheets as my guest says, but rather anthropological insights, design experiences, and so on. I'm joined by Hassan, Managing Director of Designit. It's a global strategic design firm based in Stockholm, and we're going to ask him some of these questions. I mean, what kind of consultant do you really need, and what kind of consulting does he do? Adam, thank you very much for speaking with us today.
Thank you.
So first question, I know you work with a lot of companies, and we're going to talk about two case studies about how organizations have used your input to become more efficient and maybe deliver better service or product to their customers in turn. So what is your broad thinking in terms of the way you approach products or services, or the challenges that your customers come to you with?
Yeah, so I think the broad thinking that we're applying is human-centric principles, which basically means we're trying to understand the humans involved in a process that's going to use a product or a service, and then we're basing all the decisions based on those inputs. What are the patterns that we're seeing? What are the behaviors? What are the expectations? And what they will be expecting in the future? And based on that, we can do something that is actually quite tangible and not just deliver a paper products.
And why is it that companies which either make products or deliver services need this approach?
I think, if you want to stay relevant in any market, you need to design for your customers. And if you don't understand the customers, you can't design for them. Mm-hmm. So it's a matter of if you want to survive or not.
So give us an example of where you feel that companies have not understood their customers well, particularly in the manner that you're describing it.
Yeah, so actually I think that most companies today have lost touch with their customer base. Mm-hmm. When we're talking about most huge, small, medium enterprises that we're working with, we're asking them how much you know about your customers. They often say, well, we do surveys, we do NPS scoring as well. And then my question back is, how well will you be able to get to know your customers and create intimate relationships through surveys and Excels? You don't do that. You need to meet them, you need to observe them, you need to shadow them, you need to understand them, their desires, and that is through qualitative research. Mm-hmm. So I'd say, we have the Apples, we have the Googles, we have the Spotifys and the Airbnbs. They're doing this, but being a traditional company, I think most are losing the touch with their market.
Okay, let's talk about a couple of case studies that you worked on, which might help our viewers understand what exactly it is that you do. So one is a hospital in Oslo. Yes. Tell us about what was the problem that you were presented with and what you did.
Sure. So the problem we presented with when we arrived there, it was a simple ask. From the moment you meet your doctor to the moment you get a diagnostics, whether you have breast cancer or not, it takes 12 weeks. It's 12 weeks of pain, of suffering, of stress for you as a woman, for your relatives, for your family, for your coworkers. And that was, can we do something to enhance the experience, right? Can we create an app? Can we enhance parts of the process? Whatever you find out, right? So by looking into what is happening in each and every single stage of the process, from the moment a woman discovers that she's got a lump in her breast, to the moment she meets the doctor, to the moment she gets diagnostics, what is happening on the patient side as well as the organizational side? What is causing 12 weeks of delay? And by realizing that a patient becomes a patient in the eyes of the university, when she's diagnosed with breast cancer, we could tell Oslo University Hospital, well, maybe you need to rethink this. Maybe this service promise should be, once she meets the doctor for the first time, she's becoming a patient because she needs that emotional support. And by using that insight, we basically reconstructed the whole way they were working. Instead of working linear, we told them to work in a more dynamic way, having groups of physicians following a patient. So the schematic of the hospital follows the patient, not vice versa. We managed to reduce waiting time from 12 weeks to just 4 days. That was implemented 6 years ago, and that is still working today.
So what's the insight in this, that the physical time taken to actually assess whether someone has cancer or not isn't that long?
No, it's a day. It can be done basically instantly.
Right.
So the process that is implemented is day one, you're getting reference to the hospital. Day two, it's rough sorting, low risk versus high risk patients. Day 3, you meet a patient, you meet a physician and get the preliminary answer. Day 4, you get a treatment plan. It's as easy as that. The challenges they used to have is it's getting lost in translation. Knowledge transfer, document transfer, somebody's not there, people taking their rounds, human errors, human problems.
And have you applied this learning into any other systems or processes or organizations subsequently?
Yes, then we have a second case with Sandvik, manufacturer of reaming, drilling and milling tools. Using the same kind of principles, using the same kind of methodologies and processes, but for a completely different industry with a completely different result. So the challenge they've been having, or the opportunities they've been seeing rather, is they're very product focused. And they have something called the yellow coats, the experts in terms of how you make a hole in any kind of component. But these experts, they can only serve a small part of the customers, the huge enterprises. So how do you serve the long tail? Well, by creating digital services. And one of these digital services is called the Prism, which is basically capitalizing on the knowledge that Sandvik has on all their different products and how to make holes. And this is part of optimizing the flow as well, making things more effective, going from a 3D drawing to a 3D drawing without having to do manual G-code insert. And within half a year, they've launched a product and it's going to revolutionize the market. And again, the main focus has been, how does it work for the humans?
And in this case, it's an app that takes over knowledge transfer?
Yes, exactly. Everything has been basically integrated into an app that is integrated into CNC machines. With a simple, intuitive interface in terms of how you can work with a component. To learn G-code, like you used to do, takes 5, 6, 7 years. It's quite complex. With this, you can be up and running in terms of a few days, weeks even, without having no pre-existing knowledge. So they're lowering the thresholds of people to enter that area.
Right. So when you look, as you look at your current portfolio, what are the areas you feel are ripe for disruption in this manner of speaking? You know, either it could be better processes, or better processes, therefore happier customers, or better customers, and so on.
I'd say, I'm not saying everything is up for grabs, but I'd say all the traditional processes that have been handled by classical consulting, right? Your supply chains, your financial systems, and the ERPs, your HR processes, because they have been optimized as much as they can from an Excel point of view, but it's still not working because we're missing that human touch, that human insight. And by looking at it from the other side, with a different perspective, with different kind of tools, we can optimize, not just optimize things, we can enhance the experiences. We can lower the costs, making it more effective, whilst raising the quality of the service.
Give us another example.
Supply chain, for Nokia, for instance. The big challenge they used to have is, it's a quite fragmented supply chain, right? Orders are coming in, and if that order is wrong from the beginning, it follows through the whole supply chain. Hardware turn is high because the orders were wrong from the beginning. There's no clear ownership. There's no clear integrations between the systems. There's a lot of process handovers. And nobody knows how to take this forward. By understanding how each and every person in this supply chain is working, their specific pain points, their specific wishes, their specific expectations, we've been able to reimagine how the whole supply chain should actually work from the human point of view. What we should optimize, what we should keep as manual labor, how we should handle anomalies. And based on that, we've also been able to produce a concept that is now being implemented.
Last question, Adam. So you've also talked about humanizing the Internet of Things.
Yeah.
And tell us what that means, and what that means particularly from an experiential point of view for, let's say, a user or a consumer like me.
Sure. So
in future,
IoT has and still is a lot about the technology, and the answer is always technology. But what is the question, right? So I think IoT is to enable our life, to enrich in it, to support us as humans, right? Regardless if it's within the enterprise segment or in the industry sector or for us as consumers. So humanizing IT is understanding how can we create IT platforms and services and products that is then actually providing us with value in life, regardless if we're at work or if we're at home. And that is the humanizing IT aspect of it.
And one more question. You've also talked about understanding consumer behavior to convert that into obviously better experiences, and that seems to be top of your mind right now as well. Why is this? I mean, I know that you said that many companies have in effect lost touch with their customers. Is that something that's a bigger problem today than ever before for some reason, or is it something that's a natural life cycle problem for most companies?
Oh yeah. I think it's becoming a bigger problem, to be honest. I think we're losing ourselves in numbers and inside out thinking. We're thinking, because now more than ever, we have data. And we think that data will provide all the answers, but data doesn't provide the context. Data can provide us answers in terms of optimization and how to effectivize things. Data can never provide us the overall direction, where we need to go, what kind of innovation spaces we need to explore, what kind of opportunity spaces that are out there. That can, I'm not saying only, but it can mainly be achieved by qualitative insights and actually understanding the people. Data, again, is just a tool out of many.
Right, and as someone who says that you're a management consultant with a different set of tools, I'm sure that rings very, very true. Thank you so much for speaking with us,
Thank you.
Hassan.